Hello, all you positive heads out there. It's so good to be back with all you beautiful reflections of the one source consciousness that creates and animates all things. If you're new to this podcast, of course, we are super happy to have you here, and we just ask that you bring an open mind and heart to your listening experience and to be prepared to explore vantage points that I'm convinced will help shift or solidify your current understanding of the ultimate nature of reality in a way that is extremely empowering. Speaking of exploring powerful perspectives, I'm super excited to announce the release of my very first book, The Golden Key: Modern Alchemy to Unlock Infinite Abundance. If you're ready to alchemize the circumstances in your life so that your abundance expands to an entirely new level in 2021, head over to goldenkey.gift to download the audio or ebook as my gift to you by using the code POSITIVEHEAD.
All right, all you positive heads, welcome. Welcome one and all. I am super grateful that you've joined me today on another beautifully magical day. I love saying that. It is always another beautifully magical day when we stop and smell the roses, when we stop and pay attention to all of the beauty that is around us. And today, I'm reminded of that fact from the bees. Actually, from the bee synchronicities that have been going on and going on. So interestingly enough, after Thursday's episode where I talked about sex magic and the blue lotus, the bees kept coming. And specifically, the bees came for a listener named Rachel who posted on the Positive Head Facebook group about it. Such a beautiful synchronicity for her because I know Rachel, we did a session together and the bees came up in her session. We actually had a really neat synchronicity story about that. She was actually on the show at one point. If you want to go find that episode, you can search for it. Her name is Rachel. And I'm sure you'll find it somewhere. I have no idea when that was. And maybe Rachel could even post that under her comment, maybe in the Facebook group if you want to listen to that. She probably knows easier than I. But here's what's wonderful. So she posted about having the bee come to her mind and then the episode she listened to where I talked about the bees. What's really cool is that when she was listening to me talk about the blue lotus, she went and looked it up and saw that the lotus is symbolic of growing out of the mud, going through all of these struggles and coming up to be this beautiful, amazing, sweet-smelling flower. I actually have a lotus tattooed on my back. It's been there for I don't know how long now, probably 12 to 15 years. And I also use a lotus as the image on my website. Now, I've been doing this stuff for years and really didn't think anything of it, knowing that I was just super connected to this flower. And then also after that episode, our editor, Sarah, texted me and said, "Oh my God, Erica, I have a blue lotus tattooed on me." And it is a absolutely beautiful tattoo. And that's what reminded me, oh yeah, I have a lotus tattoo too. Amazing how our higher self is speaking to us in so many little ways. These ways that a lot of times our higher self is using nature to send us a message, always communicating to us in different ways. And nature is one of the biggest ways that our higher self tries to give us messages. And so what I love about what Rachel said in her comment was that one of her biggest messages was for fun, to have fun, to just be open to the fun of the day, to the magic of the day. And that is exactly one of the things that the bees are trying to teach us. The bees have so many things to teach us, but one of the things they teach us is about the sweetness of life. The bees make honey, the most beautiful natural sweetener we know of. This beautiful, sweet, sunshiny amber goodness. Oh, and you know what's interesting? I just thought of. Last week when I was researching the blue lotus, what I came across was when you soak the blue lotus in water, what happens is the yellowness of the pollen comes and floats to the top of the water, and it looks like a golden bath, like an amber bath. And that reminds me of honey. So there's so many similarities here, or so many synchronicities. Speaking of another synchronicity, so I was already planning on talking about the connectedness that we have with nature, the connectedness that we have with one another, which bees are also symbolic of. And I will be getting into more of bee symbolism in just a little bit after all my synchronicity stories. So this week, I get a client who's absolutely amazing. She's a psychic, super in tune, does a ton of energy work, does magic in her own right because she knows that it's possible. She believes in the possibility and doesn't let anybody else tell her otherwise. Another symbol of bee. So she comes in and we're talking about her life story, and she's telling me different things about how she feels about her life. Well, she had forgotten to write down her questions. And so when this happens, I have to write them down. And this is not typical for me to be writing anything during the time I'm talking to the client. But this time I was, because I had to write down her questions when it was time to do that. And I went to write down a question. And as I was doing that, she happened to mention bees. And I looked up at her curiously, like, really? You're going to say bees? And of course, she started telling me how she saw bees and what bees were to her. And so the first thing she said to me was, bees are a collective of mostly women who are doing this work, and they all care for and support one another. And what dawned on me immediately was that the bees came up in my ladies' trip. In this trip, where my ladies and I get together, and we are such a caring and loving and supportive group. We are a community that cares and loves for one another. And it just so happens that I happened to see a video of a bee who was covered in honey. She got stuck, and the other bees came to her rescue and cleaned all of the honey off of her wings so that she could fly again, so that she wouldn't die. They all surrounded her, cleaned her off, protected her, and made sure that she was okay. If you ever notice, the bees will never leave a bee to struggle. They will always go back and get their family member, their tribe member. They never leave one alone. If they can save it, they will. It is such a beautiful thing to watch. And I told this story to my lady friends when we were on our trip, and I thought nothing of it until my client mentioned this the other day. Now, we go into her session, and of course, it's this amazing session where she's going through portals and in the fairy realm and all these things. And she went through this portal where she was playing in the fairy realm. And after going through this wormhole type portal, she wound up in the galaxy. And there, what she felt was a connectedness to everything. And what she specifically said was, it's just like cells in a body. Everything communicates together in harmony. It's all connected. It all works in unison. Another thing that the bees are teaching us, our connectedness, our ability to work together in unison, and to have that kind of hive mind, right? To know what the other knows. In the higher dimensions, as we go higher and higher in our dimensional forms, we act in that way. We know what the other knows. If one in the collective knows it, then all in the collective knows it. The difference is how each perceives it individually, how each feels about it. The knowledge is there. The feelings are individual. And that is such a beautiful thing, that each one of us, fractals of Source, gets to choose to experience our reality the way we want to, from our own perspective, because that's the point. The Creator wanted to experience, and so it separated itself. And here we are, experiencing all of the things we could possibly experience, so the Creator can learn and experience and ultimately come back to a knowing of itself. That's the thing. Here we forget. We forget who we are. We forget our connectedness. And so it's so important for us to get back to nature. This is what my client's higher self was saying to her, and the whole reason why they brought her to that realm and showed her that scene in the galaxy, because they want her to get back to nature. They want her to be in nature every day and commune with it. Because in this way, when we do that, when we understand nature, we understand ourselves. When we understand our connection to the earth, we understand our connection to the universe. As above, so below. Just like the Blue Lotus is showing us. All of these beautiful signs and synchronicities from the universe all around us, showing us, hey, pay attention. Remember, you're connected. You are one with it all. It's all around you if you just stop and listen and pay attention. In the Law of One, it says that the nature of communication of the Logos is analogous to the cells of the body, and that which is learned by one is learned by all. The Logos is another term for the love of creation that created us, the energy of love that we were created from, that force, that very, very powerful force of love that we were created from. That is the Logos. And it communicates just like the cells in the body, just like my client felt when she was out there floating in the galaxy. Dolores Cannon also found this as well. In one of her books, she said that we are like cells in the body of God, all fractals of Source, all connected. In the field of quantum physics, they talk about this. They call it quantum entanglement. And it's when one particle instantaneously knows what other particles know. And it's regardless of how much distance there is between them. Einstein had a term for it. He called it spooky action at a distance. Kind of freaked him out a little bit to see that that's what was happening, that one particle knew what the other particle knew, no matter how far away. We are very similar. We, they say we're particles. Really, we're not. We're energy. We're just densified energy that appear as particles. And these particles are all connected because we all come from the same source. And now you might be thinking, how are all the particles connected? Well, is it a particle or is it a wave? Depends. Are you paying attention? Are you looking at it? Or are you not? And so it's either or, just depends. If you want to know a little bit about more, you can research the particle wave duality experiment. That's a really fun one to get into. This concept of our connectedness has been researched over and over from so many scientists. One of them being David Bohm. He's one of the most notable theoretical physicists and scientists of our time. And in the book, The Holographic Universe, written by Michael Talbot, he talks a lot about Bohm's work. It's an absolutely wonderful book as well, which talks a lot about our connectedness and the holographic nature of our reality. And in it, he quotes Bohm, who says that everything in the universe is part of a continuum. Despite the apparent separateness of things at the explicate level, everything is a seamless extension of everything else. And ultimately, even the implicate and the explicate orders blend into each other. You are the same thing, unbroken, one enormous something that has extended its uncountable arms and appendages all into the apparent objects, atoms, restless oceans, and twinkling stars in the cosmos. He also said that animate and inanimate matter are inseparably interwoven, and life, too, is enfolded throughout the totality of the universe. Even a rock is in some way alive, for life and intelligence are present not only in all matter, but in energy, space, time, the fabric of the entire universe, and everything else we abstract out of the hollow movement and mistakenly view as separate things. We just view ourselves as separate, but it is a mistake, it is an illusion. We are all connected. We are all made of the same thing. Oftentimes, it doesn't seem that we are. It doesn't seem that we all come from a place of love and that we're all coming from this same place, but it is true. We are all just perceiving from our own lens the way that we are choosing to experience, the way the Creator wanted it done. In the Upanishads, it says, "He is one. Of one form, he makes himself many forms." That's exactly what the Creator did. Of one form, made himself many forms, us. And also, atomically, we are all connected because our atoms can be traced back to the stars. The elements that make up our atoms were created from stars over 4.5 billion years ago. 4.5 billion years ago. So that means that all matter on Earth is made of these elements. And that means that we are made from the stars. Carl Sagan said that we are made of star stuff. And now, all of this because of the bees. I find it so incredibly fascinating how my higher self gives me these shows, gives me these ideas. First, it was the bees, and then it grew and grew and grew. And I forgot to tell you this one little synchronicity as well. The client that I've been talking about who brought up the bees to me, she happened to have a bee tattoo. And there we go back to the tattoos. And it makes me think, well, what do tattoos mean? Tattoos are a permanent art on our body. They are a symbol, typically, of who we are. They are something that we wear that says, "Hey world, this is who I am. This is a symbol of me." And what's beautiful about that is that's something else that the bees teach us. So let's get into exactly what the bees are actually teaching us. And I found a couple really, really wonderful articles. One is from the website called whatismyspiritanimal.com. And I really liked what they had to say there. They're talking about how bees are super productive. And so when we see bees in our lives, sometimes it means that we're either doing too much or maybe it means that we're not doing enough. Bees have a super wonderful work ethic, but they also take the time to stop and smell the flowers. They always take the time to enjoy life. And so when we see bees, it's a really wonderful reminder for us to find that balance in our life between work and play, to find that fun in our lives, and also be able to work, do the amount of work that we need to do, but to balance that in a beautiful way that is possible, because anything is possible. Another thing the bees are teaching us. The interesting thing about a bee is that the way that the bee is aerodynamically designed is like quote unquote wrong, because the bee should not be able to fly. The cool thing is that the bee doesn't know that, and so the bee flies just fine. It doesn't know it has that limitation, so it moves past it. That's exactly what it's showing us, that we can move past any limitation that we might perceive. We can move past it successfully because miracles are possible. Anything is possible. Miracles aren't really miracles. They're just a realization of the magic that is. That's it. It just is. When you just know it, when you don't listen to all the shoulds of society, when you know that anything is possible, because it is. If you can think it, it can be. The bees are also symbolic of life. Without the bees pollinating our plants, we would not have food. We wouldn't have flowers. They are an immensely important part of the life cycle here on Earth. And speaking of a really important part of the life cycle here on Earth is the bees' social nature. They point to working in a community, to working in cooperation with one another. And as a matter of fact, this is what Darwin found in his books. He found that nature actually was not competitive. That was mentioned like once in that book, Origin of Species. What he actually found was that nature was very cooperative in its existence, that naturally we are cooperative in nature, just like the bees, that when we work together and support one another as a community, we thrive and we're stronger together. Just also symbolically of the bee's honeycomb, the strength of the honeycomb, that structure of the hexagon fitting together in just that way provides an immense amount of strength. Not only that, but you can fit so much honey and wax and volume into that little tiny space, more so that you can in any other configuration. And so bees are incredibly smart, just innately connected to their intuition. And the bee's honeycomb is actually representative of the heart chakra and the sweetness of life, all coming from the heart in a love of life, in having fun, in playing, in enjoying the sweetness and stopping to smell the flowers, reminding us to be grateful for all those little things throughout our daily life. Another article that I found was from spiritanimal.info, and they talked more about the bees and their intuition, and how the bees are a sign of really knowing one's true self. Bees have really wonderful extrasensory abilities. They're known for their clairvoyance, actually. They are like a binding link between the universe's invisible forces. That means they are that connection from as above to below, from below to above. They're very sensitive to their environment, to light, to weather patterns, and that means also to energy. They are sensitive to all of it because they are connected. And so the more connected we are to nature, the more sensitive we are to energies, the more we are telepathic, the more we understand our connectedness to one another. And so I want to thank the bees today. I'm super grateful for their message. I'm grateful to my higher self for bringing this through. I'm grateful for all those who reached out with their synchronicity stories, and for my clients who come through and teach me every single time they come in. I learned so much from my clients. And last but certainly the bestest, I am super grateful for all of you. I thank you so much for being here with me and listening to me talk and learning and playing and teaching yourselves. We are all doing amazing, amazing, amazing work in this world, and I love you, and I'm grateful for all of you. I'm going to leave you with this song called A Call Back to Nature from Geometry. Until next time, I love you all.
Also, before we cue up today's song, as a quick reminder, don't forget to download the Golden Key audio or ebook as my free gift to you at goldenkey.gift using the Golden Key code POSITIVEHEAD. And please, if you enjoy my gift, leave a positive review on Amazon so others can unlock their lives with the help of the Golden Key as well.